Hello, friends. It has been a minute. I know I posted a video last week about my recovery from the concussion and the accident, and it's been now 3.5 weeks since my accident. Of course, I still have good and bad days, still recovering from the concussion, but today is probably the best I've felt in 3.5 weeks, which, had you asked me yesterday if I was doing okay, I would have said no. So this is just a perfect example of how every other day can feel different. So I'm going to take advantage of this moment and come to you and bring to you some insights that have been coming to me. And what has been really interesting with this process of healing of this concussion is the weird feeling of not having awareness of what even caused it. Um, if you don't know, if you haven't seen me before, my name is Angie, and I'm a psychic medium and a spirit channel, and I do teachings on consciousness and alignment with your higher self and how to overcome any like mindset or traumas or energies that are keeping you from seeing your true self and the reflection of how your higher self sees you. So I do both one-on-one sessions with people, just doing readings and channelings, but I also do what you would say spiritual therapy. I spent over 20 years working in the mental health field and always knew I came to Earth to help people to heal. But when I had my awakening in 2016, everything shifted for me, and the universe and God, whatever you want to call it, just pushed me into doing this work. And it feels very aligned with my calling in life now. So I provide free teachings on YouTube for you to follow and subscribe to so that you can integrate healing into your own experience. I'm also a deconstructed Christian. When I had my awakening in 2016, I began to deconstruct from a very, very religious background. I did not grow up religious, surprisingly. I became a Christian around age 16. I was just seeking. I was always very spiritual, always drawn to like astrology, drawn to the stars. Even as a little girl, I could see spirits, I could hear spirits. I had interactions with UFOs as a child, and actually, my mom even had an interaction with a UFO before she was delivered me at 8 months. So there's a lot of spiritual things about me, and then Spirit kind of took all those experiences and said, "Now it's time to teach." And so I deconstructed from Christianity, which was actually a pretty difficult thing for me to dissect and look into what I believed and what I didn't believe. And one of the things I've noticed that's really interesting about coming through this trauma that I just went through was my connection with Jesus is changing. Not that I ever left Jesus behind when I left religion, but I feel like I kind of set him aside or set this figure aside for the last 10, 11 years in attempts to find the truth. And then it's interesting to be guided back into his teachings, not into religion, not into the domineering thought patterns that Christianity or other religions can have over us, but the actual teachings and seeing them from an awakened point of view. And for those of you that don't know what happened, I do mountain biking, and um, I guess 3 weeks ago, I had decided to get with some friends and go mountain biking, which I do on a regular basis. Most summers, I spend at least 2 to 3, maybe 4 times a week going and riding my bike with my friends, like a kid would do. But we go on some pretty intense trails sometimes. And I had kind of been manifesting my way up into being able to do harder things while I am biking. And um, two or I guess it would be 3 Saturdays ago, I was with friends, and I have no memory of even going to the trail. I lost all my memory of that day and the memories of the days before that. Um, but something happened. I was by myself when this happened. I had left when I had left my friends. Like, I guess they were having a party and a cookout and hanging out. And I took off on my bike to go ride my bike by myself, which is interesting. Um, but they said that when I left, uh, I was gone for a while, and then all of a sudden I was back. And I had told somebody that was there that I had crashed and hit my head really hard. And I have no memory at all of being there. I don't remember the cookout. I don't remember crashing. I don't remember going and getting help. I don't remember anything. I don't even remember going to the ER. So my friend took me to the ER, and during this time, what I can tell you from my perspective is I wasn't in my body. I went into like almost like emptiness, like this place of like nothing. And when I was in this place of nothing, I know that I had visitations from spirits. Now, I have a feeling that more memories are going to come back about this experience as I heal more, or when it's time to know those things. But in a way, this was definitely a near-death experience where um, I really could have died in this experience for probably 5 to 8 hours around that. Like, I consciously remember coming back into my body probably around 3 a.m. the next morning. And the only reason I know that is because I woke up in my friend's house and saw my phone and looked at my phone, and it was about 3:30 a.m. and I was like, what just happened? Where am I? I didn't remember my name. I remember I started counting my fingers and toes to see if I knew how to count. It was like straining to even have a thought, which was really scary for me. And I remember thinking, either I want to go back to where I was and be completely gone and not being a human, or I want to be healed if I'm going to stay here on earth. And of course, I am healing, and thank God for that. But in the middle of this basically near death experience that I had, I know for sure now, like I have a clear visual that I had some guides and some angels that helped me. Something took over my body and helped me to go get help when I had the wreck. Like I said, I don't even know what I did. I have seen the helmet that I had on. Um, Kind of vaguely when they showed it to me, I was still kind of unconscious, but I did see a big gash on the back of it here. But I also had a cut across my nose and across my face, and then the left side of my body was scraped up. And so I have no idea how I hurt both sides of my body. The only thing I can think of is there's a very, very faint visual in my head that there was a bridge. And I almost wonder if I fell off the bridge and just landed on my head and crashed that way. But that's speculation. I have no idea. And I don't know that there's ever going to be a way to find out what happened just because nobody was there, nobody saw it. But something helped me get help. And had I not had somebody or had something take me to get help, I don't know that I would have survived. Um, because for the next 5 hours, I had no consciousness at all. The people that I had two friends that showed up for me, and I just feel like I owe them my life at this point. They One of them recorded me and what I was doing and saying, and my short-term memory and long-term memory were completely gone. And I would ask the exact same question probably every minute to 2 minutes. Like, and I would respond as if I'd never heard the answer before. I asked how my friend got there because I had no recollection of texting her and asking her to come. Or actually, I don't know if I asked her, I just said, I'm going to the ER. That's all I text. Had no idea to text her. And then the other question was, what happened? And I would ask, how'd you get here and what happened? Probably every minute to 2 minutes for several hours. And then when I wasn't asking the question, I was not conscious. Like, I don't even, like, they said they did a CAT scan on me. They said they did a spinal, they looked at my spine to see if I broke anything, looked at my neck to see if I broke anything, and thank God nothing was broken. But I don't remember even doing that. It's really crazy to think that there's this chunk of your life that's just not there anymore. And especially as something so significant. So in the middle of this, when other people are seeing one side of my accident, I'm in a different dimension. I am communicating with my dad. Like, my dad passed in 2020, and I saw probably the clearest vision I've ever had of him since he passed. I communicate with my dad all the time as a medium, and he's come to me in dreams and visions and meditations. And so it's not a weird thing for me to have contact with my dad. But in this, it was probably the first time in my life that he came to me. And I remember, like, almost like grieving the fact that I knew that he wasn't really like on earth with me. And you can hear me in one of the recordings um that they took of me, was they were asking me questions about my family, if I remember, who my family members were. And in the recording, I said something about how I asked if my dad was dead. So I didn't even remember my dad was dead during this time. And they were like, yes, your dad died in 2020. And so you can hear them telling that to me. And then I like am like, oh my God, my dad's dead. So there's a lot that happens in that time period, and I'm anxious. I don't know that I'm really anxious. That's not really a good word for that. I am curious to see what other memories will come back to me as I continue to heal from this concussion. But like I said, one of the really interesting things that is happening is, one, being back in my body has not been hard, or has not been easy. It's been a little bit of a difficult experience. I hear this a lot from other people that have left their body before, through a near-death experience, that being in the physical form is difficult because it is harsh and dense and not as flowy and free there. Like, I do remember being in this space of freedom and like surrender. I remember thinking, I'm done. I'm done with the human life and I'm going back. And yet there was this other side of me that said, but you're not done. You're there for a purpose, and need to go back and finish that. Oh, it makes me want to cry when I say that. And so in some aspects, I know that I chose to come back just because I knew I was here to do something. And um, now I know I will continue to do teachings and guide people on their spiritual journey, but I feel like it will be different. I feel like my work is softening in a way, in a understanding of the fragileness of life, and also the shift I've had towards myself in the last month and a half, and specifically since the accident. There's been a lot of healing I have personally been doing, and maybe one day I'll share more about that. But it's just like layers and layers of things are coming off of me that have been on me for, I'm 46 years old, like 46 years old, and all this trauma that has been on there for that long. And not that I haven't healed things or worked through things, but there's like, once you start healing, there is deep, deep, deep seated things that maybe you don't even know you're still holding on to until something provokes it to come forward. Maybe a trigger that somebody says something to you and you're like, well, I thought I healed from this and now this is coming up, but what's wrong with me? It doesn't mean you're going backwards. It means that it's revealing a deeper essence of that to help you reveal a little bit more of your truth, a little bit more of who you are underneath all that energy that has kept you stuck or in loops or in patterns. And sometimes we don't even know we have our patterns because they're just so ingrained in who we are. And there's a lot of patterns that have been coming up for me that I didn't even know were ingrained. Like, I'll just share one real fast, as like the survival mechanism of not having enough. And it's not that I was ever worried about not having enough, but there was this fear of like, I told a friend, yeah, it may have been today, time is way off for me right now. I told a friend that like I noticed before my accident, like if I would go to the grocery store, I'd like buy a whole bunch of food and be like, I won't be back here for a long time. And the reality of it is there's a grocery store like literally 2 minutes from me, and I don't have to live that way. Like I could buy what I need for the next day or so, 2 days, and go back if I needed to. Now, do I want to keep going back and forth? No. But I had this realization that I grew up in survival mode and I needed to hoard enough to get myself through till the next time I had enough to get something, when really I always have enough. And so that is something that's shifting for me, is like living more in my life and not in the survival of my life. Um, and then, like I said, the other thing is like these teachings of Jesus that are coming through for me. And one of those is I was sitting and meditating one day last week and thinking about my own abilities, my psychic abilities, my mediumship, and how they actually feel enhanced since I had the accident. And not that they're perfect or completely on the line, but my connection with spirit has been way more open since the accident. And I started thinking about Jesus, and this thought came into my head of like, holy crap, Jesus was a psychic. And so I did a little bit of studying, just because I spent so much time in religion for a while. I know the verses, I know the stories, I know the life of Jesus. I spent years and years and years doing deep dive study into the Bible. So I was able to use my old knowledge to go back into these spaces where I could understand from a awakened point of view, from a higher consciousness understanding, what Jesus was actually trying to teach us, and that he was actually sharing with us our abilities and reflecting back to us our abilities of us being able to tune into psychic abilities and communicate with our guides and spirits beyond this human realm. And so I decided, like, I'm going to look into all the examples that Jesus taught us where he used his psychic abilities. And so to end this, it's a longer video than I was anticipating making for all of you today. I really was going to come and just teach about this, but then my own story got in the way. So hopefully, that leaves, it opens the door for you to stay for this next part. But if you don't know much about Jesus' story, there's from the Christian faith, he came to earth to save humanity, is what they teach. Like, he is the savior, he is God, he is God incarnated in the human form. And that in itself, I did believe for a long time, like he has authority over us, he has control over us. We have to obey, we have to follow. If we don't accept Jesus as our savior, then we don't get to go to heaven. Like, there's so many logistics and laws, and it's a very shaming way of living your life. Like, I have no worth, but you have worth, and without you, I suck, basically. And I have no ability to have freedom or joy in my life unless I give everything to you. And the fact of it is that's not at all what Jesus was teaching. Jesus didn't teach any of that. He actually taught to go in, to find the kingdom of heaven within yourself, to love yourself, to understand your own internal navigation, your higher self, your connection with spirit, your connection with God, and to find the same gifts that he shared with the world within ourselves. And so he would talk about our ability to heal, and he would demonstrate it. He would talk about being able to create and manifest our reality. He would talk about not following the limiting thoughts and views of the religious structure at the time. He actually went against everything in the religion. And that's why he ultimately was taken to the cross and killed, because he was threatening the system and changing. That was when there was a huge awakening happening because of him. And now we have thousands of teachers on earth that are teaching the same things that Jesus taught, just not in the same way. We're all teaching unity consciousness. We're teaching love. We're teaching connecting back into your higher self, into your heart, releasing karmic energies, releasing traumas, like all this. And really, that's what he taught us. And so, looking into the words of Jesus, what actually the Bible says he taught and he spoke, we can see all these gifts that he was teaching us. And then he actually says, you will do greater things than even I can do here. So he was, I believe, predicting about the time we are entering now, or we are slowly already have been entering in and will continue to step into, where more and more and more humans activate and understand the heart connection to their soul and to God frequency and the abilities that they naturally have. It doesn't mean that every single human is going to go out and become a psychic or become a spiritual teacher or a medium. It means that love begins to rule in the human mind and in the human heart, and we start to treat each other in unity consciousness instead of competition or control or authoritarian. A lot of the systems of the world will begin to collapse, and I believe that we're about to see that in a very near future. I have been getting messages for at least 4 years about this collapse that's going to happen, and I believe it's right around the corner. And maybe I'll do another teaching about that, but we also have a responsibility in that. We can't just sit around waiting for the system to change. We are the change, but we don't change things outside of ourselves. We change ourselves, and that's how things outside of us ourselves change. So we are the change, and that's what Jesus was teaching. You like follow me, follow the way I do things so that you also can do them. Not that you have to give your life up and neglect yourself and deny yourself. It means letting go of the ego's desires to be seen or controlled, or giving your power away even, and allowing yourself to see yourself the way God sees you, and understanding you are a direct reflection of God. You were literally created in the image of God, and that's not just your human self. That is your soul. Your soul is and never will. It is a reflection of God, and it will never, ever, ever be separated. There is never the possibility of our soul being separated from God, ever. And so the fear that religion often brings in is that you can lose that connection with God, when there's never, ever, ever going to happen. Like even Jesus says, there is no separation. And so we have to remember that here on earth, the separation is the lack of understanding. The separation is the denying of our true self. And some humans actually, or some spirits, I guess, would do come to be humans that deny God, that walk a path where they're not connected to their higher self. And that's what they wanted to experience. And we have to allow that to happen without judgment. So that being said, I have a list here, and if you want to follow along or look at these up with me, you're welcome to. Let me pull this up, and I just want to go through some of the examples that I found where Jesus displayed his ability, his psychic abilities, because I think it's fun to look at this. So the first one, this is the one that popped in my head that day when I was thinking about, oh my gosh, Jesus is a psychic. Because as a psychic myself, like I can see things and I can know things about people or events or circumstances. Now, I don't claim to know everything, and I don't claim to be 100% accurate. I claim to read the current energy that I pick up and then reflect it back to you. And then we have the ability to shift energy. So if a psychic says to you, this is going to happen, it doesn't mean it will happen. It means that your energy is on the projection. Like you are sending your reflection towards that. So this is a possibility of what could take place. But anytime in any moment, like if I say, don't, if you keep, one of these days you're gonna, let's just go general, like you'll lose your job. You're about to get fired from your job. And you're like, well, I love my job. I don't want to get fired from my job. So I can reflect to you, well, the energy I picked up in your energetic field is that this is where it's guiding you towards. Now, spirit may have a plan through that. Just like I have been fired from a job, and that's why I do what I do now, because I knew I was supposed to quit, but I didn't. And so that's a whole nother story. But I was forced. The spirit told me, like, quit your job. And I was scared. I was terrified. And so I said, okay, fine. So the spirit was like, we're going to do it for you. And then I had to take that and figure out why it happened. So had I made the choice on my own, I would have avoided that circumstance. But sometimes, if that's not meant to happen for you, you can shift your mindset and your understanding, and you can begin to manifest something new, because we are the creators of our reality. But also understand that our higher self knows what our soul path is. So it will constantly be trying to guide you where you're meant to go. So a psychic may be able to look in your inner energy and say, this is what I see, but it doesn't mean that that is always the outcome. It's a possibility of an outcome. We always have two choices. We always have a split. The next step, I can choose to post this video and share it, or I can choose not to. And that will create two different timelines and two different situations and scenarios in my life. And whatever one I choose, then that next choice after that will be determined on that. So if you can see, like, a choice creates another choice, creates another choice. So when I was thinking about Jesus' psychic abilities that day, I was thinking about how he predicted that Judas was going to betray him. And so if you want to look this up, you are more than welcome. But in John 13:21 through 27, Matthew 26:20 through 25, and Mark 14:17 through 21. And I'll try to remember to put all this down in the description so you don't have to, like, if you are taking notes or anything, like, write it down really fast. But so in this, Jesus was using precognition. I cannot talk today. He was basically knowing future events, which is a psychic ability. And he reflected back to Judas, this is the energy I feel that you are going to, someone is going to deny me. He knew before it even happened that Judas was going to betray him. So he reflected outward, and then of course Judas then later betrayed him. If you don't know the story, Jesus went to the scribes, and he told them where Jesus was, and that's how Jesus ended up on the cross. So then the next one was Jesus predicts Peter's denial. So there's a prediction again. There's future knowing, this discernment. He's discerning Jesus. Jesus is discerning Peter's energy. What is Peter about to do? Peter's going to deny me 3 times. And he even tells Peter, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And then what happens? Peter goes on and denies Jesus 3 times. He hears the rooster and he's like, holy crap, Jesus told me I was going to do this, and here I am doing it. So those verses are going to be in Luke 22:31 through 34, Matthew 26:33 through 35, and in Mark 14:29 through 31. And when you do look into this, if you so choose, just understand that maybe 10% of the Bible is Jesus talking. The other is made up by humans. Now, there are prophets, and I believe that there are accurate things throughout the Bible. Like, I believe that Daniel was a prophet. I believe Elijah was a prophet. I believe, and when I say prophet, I mean like a psychic medium, or somebody that reads the stars, someone that can read energy, a healer, someone that brings messages like a channeler does now for humanity. I believe that they connected into God frequency and then brought through a message for humanity to warn them about something or to tell them this is about to come. And that's what we see happening right now in our reality, is a lot of people are stepping into this like kind of a prophecy of saying this is to what is to come. Now, a lot of the things we read in the Bible, they already came. They came and went. But now, we are creating a new earth, and some of that is in the Bible as well about new earth. But we are stepping into a brand new era. And I believe that around the time Jesus was here was, the beginning of the age of Pisces, and now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. So there's the shift that happening where Jesus said, in the end times, there will be people that do what I do at greater scale. So there's more than just Jesus doing it now. Um, Let me see. Let me share I'm just going to go through these really fast and then I'll post the verses below. Jesus reads Nathanael's energy so Jesus tells Nathanael, I saw you under the fig tree before Nathanael called you to me. So he's like, he was remote viewing. He's using clairvoyance. He could perceive what this person was doing before he even met him. The Samaritan woman, the relationships that she had been in, when he read her energy, and you can read in the scripture, come meet a man that told me everything about me. That is a psychic. That's what psychics do. Jesus knew people's thoughts before they would speak them. He would even do that with the religious leaders. He would say to them, I know your thoughts. I know what you're thinking. And so he would reflect that back. Energy healing. He could feel when energy left his body. He could feel when he was walking through the crowd when a woman touched his garment and received healing from touching his garment. He felt the power coming out of him. So he was a great Reiki master, is what I would say. He knew how to tell his disciples to find the colt or the donkey that he would then ride on through the city before he went to the cross. Then he told his disciples how to prepare for the Last Supper. He told them, when you enter the city, a man will be carrying a jar of water and you will meet him. And this is where you will get these things to create the Last Supper. Gosh, there's so many of these. He communicated with the dead. He knew when people would die. He knew he predicted his own death. He was able to speak with Elijah and Moses after they died. He had a connection with them in spirit where he talked to them, their spirits. So there was a lot of things Jesus did that demonstrates psychic abilities, mediumship, and the ability to heal and perceive things. So one of the things I think is interesting is when I say this, I will get a lot of backlash from Christians that say, that's blasphemy. You can't say that was Jesus, or it was because he was God. He was the Son of God. He had these abilities and we don't have these abilities. And anybody that has these abilities now is of the devil and all these things. But my question is, I'm not saying every single psychic medium is good. There is, just like in anything, there's positive and negatives in all things, but there are a lot of good healers. There are a lot of good mediums, and they're doing good work. They're helping people heal. They're helping people connect with their higher self. And a really good healer in a psychic or medium or channeler is not going to be doing it in the ego. They're going to be doing it to support humanity in their growth and understanding of themselves. And that's, I believe, is what Jesus was teaching. And my question to people that are threatened by that is, why are you threatened by people's lives getting better? What is it that threatens you when somebody's lives improves through through knowing, through healing, through awakening into something they didn't understand before, or a connection with a spirit? Like, I have a beautiful client that I've worked with several times who lost a child, and I've been able to teach her how to connect with her child in spirit, and they have interactions all the time. Like her child comes to visit her and gives her signs, and that's so healing for people. And so, what is it that threatens you when people find peace or they find healing? And and to me, this is just my personal opinion, just from coming out of religion and now being out of it and seeing perspective from both sides. Because I get it. I get it. Like people are gonna say Satan comes and pretends to be the light and deceits is gonna deceive you. And I know those stories. I lived in that fear for a long time. But I don't live in fear anymore because I don't believe Satan has any power over me. I don't believe demonic energy has power over me. I believe the light is stronger than the darkness. And I believe that Jesus' teachings are true and that we are meant to live in freedom and peace, like he said. He said, "Fear not," how many times? So if you're living in fear, then you're not living for Christ. So to follow Christ means to let go of fear. And if something brings good to the world and helps people to align with their truth and feel more authentic and feel more peaceful and manifest abundance and feel safer, what about that threatens you? Is it because it makes you understand that maybe what you believe might not be completely true? Maybe you're holding on to shame. Maybe you're holding on to guilt. Maybe you're holding on to these teachings that you received through religion that caused you to feel unworthy when the whole teaching of Jesus is you are worthy. He never wanted us to not feel worthy or not to feel loved. And so we have to begin to look deeper into our own energy and our own heart and our beliefs to see, why am I threatened by something good? So I guess that's where I'm going to leave this at this point. And I would love to hear your thoughts. And again, thank you for being patient with me as I've been on this healing journey. I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow. I guess we'll see how my brain is working. I am doing this teaching, and then I am going to be channeling this evening for my Wednesday channel group. I'm a little nervous, but we're gonna do this. I believe that Jesus got me and my guides got me and my angels and the wisdom keepers who I've worked with. I trust them. And like I said, the light always overcomes darkness, and I just have to keep walking in that. So I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.